Hello everyone, Blue Star Saber here once again to discuss another One Piece chapter review. I will admit it's been a while since I have done a review partly because due to some personal losses and also the fact I had a birthday up and coming, I ended up delaying reviewing the One Piece chapters, and it seems like the limited chapters I can keep limited to like Viz translations is happening now. So I've got to try and do this review as well as hopefully another chapter review tomorrow. That I'm also going to try and watch The Mandalorian and Grogu again. I'm hoping that I'm able to review that and also review the One Piece chapter, but who knows? We'll have to wait and see. I manage my time. And but yeah, lucky for me, the One Piece chapter that's coming out this week it's like the one before break week, so I arguably do have some time to catch up with my One Piece reviews. So yeah. Anyway, I have gone on long enough. Chapter 1181, Zaza, if you will. Read a request. Well, this chapter is basically following the events of the last one, in which Emu and Loki ended up fighting each other for quite a bit. We end up getting to see what Emu can do with his abilities, as well as learn that he seems to have a bit more of a personal relationship to Joe Boy than we are legit to believe. But yeah, it was mostly a full-on fight chapter, basically. Now, will this chapter continue that, or will it go back to the more usual Oda doing multiple plot lines? We'll have to wait and see. In fact, there are other battles that should be taking place. So yeah. But before we got that, we've got the reader request. Isho saving a bowl of udon painstakingly crafted by a fox and a tanuki, in which we see the fox and tanuki, usually enemies in Japanese folklore, and happy that Fujitora is eating their sort of ramen noodles, if you will. So yeah, arguably it's a nice chap. It's a nice little cover thing, and you could probably see Fujitora doing something like this. So yeah, pretty good cover. Anyway, on to the actual chapter. The sort of begins with Loki in his giant dragon form trying to sense Emu's presence, realizing that it's a bit too hard to see him as he's a giant dragon. Emu calls Loki a Nidhogg and think he would see that again in this world, calling Nidhogg a traitor. And as he's coughing up, he realizes that the snow, and apparently realizing that the lightning is caused by an impact with ice, and says that it's an affinity for one another was always great. And Emu starts to address for Loki's hammer Ragnar as the squirrel, if you will, saying that thou hast stayed were in the days past, waiting for a new master to come. Basically says so. You finally found a new master, basically. Talk about how familiar as a sight as we see Loki's Ragnar squirrel shouting something that we do not understand, but it clearly knows Emu. And we've got the title crawl of Hammer Ragnar, Squirrel Fruit, mythical type, Mono Ice Screw, Ratakoshka. Well, I'm probably not pronouncing it correct, but basically it's confirmed that it's a hammer that ate the an ice squirrel devil fruit. So yeah, as a result of this, Loki starts attacking him with like a dragon Ragnar arrows, if you will. As Emu attacks with a move called Glazing a Kip, they cause massive explosions against each other. As you can see, the scale of their battlefield from like in a distance, if you will. So yeah, that ends that bit where we see when we cut to Barney, if you will, with talking about how scary he is, with Bliff telling him to come back, and by trying to show her that she won't go to the fight, with Lilith saying that I'm now your guardian. So let's see, she wouldn't let Bonnie do such a thing, but is also wondering who that is. And we see that Sanji is being blown away to where they are, and Lilith is deducing that, okay, this guy's clearly is superior to the God's Knights, but he's not one of the 5 elders. And Lilith, in a sort of figure punk-like move, is thinking in a massive organization lasting 800 years, it's only natural that power struggles will breed deeper and deeper darkness, which, before Lilith can deduce, my guess is that Lilith, being Vegapunk, has almost deduced that it's likely one of the founding 20. That's my guess on this. But Sanji gets up. Bonnie says that you're too hurt, but Sanji says it's no other choice, as he's remembering a flashback where let's see, Killingham's mocking that he didn't have to take out Sanji. Let's see, realizing that he doesn't have to take out Sanji. Instead, is impressed that he managed to survive the runes from Imu, which arguably is a bit of an upscale, if you will. So, yeah. Killingham has basically declared to Sanji that as Sanji's acting where he's going, that he's going to complete his mission, and with him with a power up, he jumps away. It's damaging Sanji as well, calling him a sucker, if you will. With Sanji realizing that they have not given up on kidnapping those children yet, despite Lilith and Bonnie's protests. He says he can't let all the battles be for nothing, saying that this is Luffy and Usopp's dream. So he's going to keep going until Elbaf is safe. And also, it's his own personal reason that the land is of beautiful giant women, which leaves a sort of ... with Bonnie and Lilith from that remark, arguably. So, yeah, you have Sanji basically, jumping up to try and, go out and save all the kids, if you will. Anyway, we then cut to the Owl Library where they go around the back there's a hidden tunnel, and it's revealed that Robin, as you can see here with Sol, has realized that this is the ending of a secret world. This tunnel leads to an ending of a secret room, and that they found out that Biblo has managed to protect all the books from the fire, praising them, with Robin thankful that they thought all was lost, but Sol ends up saying he's glad too. But he's still more perplexed by Biblo than he was before, and all that stuff. But Biblo remains silent. Which has led to many speculations of whether or not Biblo might be this arc's traitor, or for the good guys, or if perhaps Biblo might be a character from the 4th century. So yeah, you've got those sort of theories popping up. Anyway, we cut to the sea cloud port by the Western Village, where we see Rainbow Port, branch route Western Village, where we see Summers has lifted a giant boat with by himself, as he's communicating with saying that and saying he's Summers, but then it's no way, I'm Super Summers, as he's now find a new giant found a new giant ship to take all the kids on, so needs to try and get them here in 5 minutes, if you will. So we got that. Anyway, we cut to Chopper with Gerd in the pub of Western Village, as people are looking at the war scene, and Chopper's revealed that while Gerd's fingers were cut, incredibly sharp, they could easily be attached, but still take months to recover. With Gerd feeling like how helpless she is, since she's supposed to be healing everyone. But Chopper says there's no need to worry about that, since it is basically something they could do about it, if you will. So we get that little bit there, and hold on. Move from studio. We then cut to the giant sort of healing. Yep, giants. Let's see all the giants in a bit of resting. We see Omi and Kashi covered in bandages, Road covered in bandages, Hajun covered in bandages, and a bunch of the kids, including Colin, and I think Elder Giles' grandkid. got her name, but that doesn't really matter. Let's see, resting as everyone's thanking Chopper, particularly Colin for like helping his mother, and saying it's only emergency clan. Says once they're through with this disaster, he can give them proper treatment. Rhoda's going like, ultra rare, good. My precious has her fingers chopped, thinking like, is this official? And says he would give up all his fingers if he could, with Gerd saying don't, as he is saying in the harsh words, what he says, "Oh, I'm unworthy of your of your sharp tongue," but Gerd tries to do a sort of let's see, nice thing, if you will, and let's see, image files. As we see, Gerd says that, but she is impressed by the fact that he did risk her life to save his brother Bojan, making making her think slightly better of him as a result, and he loses it over that, saying, let's see, as Chopper realizes Widow squirts blood when he gets excited, and he's just like, an excess of ultra rare Gerd. Of her, let's see, Rhodes Bogart thinking, and there goes the respect, though. Depending on the translation, he thinks there goes my respect. But either way, he's like, "Come on, brother, not now. Don't do this now." And for all we know, it could have actually cost, let's see, Gerd's respect, if you will, if that did end up happening. Anyway, we hold on, let me just let's see, remove from studio screen. We then cut to like Zorro's team in the Western Village, which is just him and Goldberg, where it says he appreciates him for carrying as his legs went that fast. And we learn that Goldberg's basically the only member of the Giant Pirates that isn't injured. So let's see, plus Elbas and Elbas, he appreciates helping them out. With Zorro saying, "No worries, our captain's a friend's country is my country kind of guy." With Goldberg realizing why Hadrudin would follow them and think so highly. And we see that Zorro is observing that the black flames were transforming into steel bullets and bombs, saying he clearly helped the Knights of Guards who already here with further power, and says that they don't put an end to them soon, things will get out of hand. As so, with like the now metal bullets, is more determined to try and stop the Guards Knights as best he can. And this is where we get the next bit here, where we at the Western Port Village, if you will, as let's see, Killingham ends up contacting Summers, saying that he messed up, and let's see, Killingham seems to realize Summers seems to realize what Killingham has summoned, with him going like, "Yes, what I'm afraid of. I got overzealous," with Summers saying, "You idiot, it's going to be freaking out even them, but unless you can control it." As it's like, "Yeah, sure, it's still a sleep, dude." So he was like, "What's done is done," saying that they need to hurry. We don't have time asking about Gunko, as he describes that he's seen Gunko's body on the way here, but thinks that Gunko is dead, which surprises Summers. But Summers doesn't seem to care, saying, "So be it. Great Emu's body is not meant to withstand the outside," saying that even pushing past that, saying the strength we need and the strength we ought to destroy are both right here, saying not to disappoint the Great One, and saying they must live up to his expectations, which Killingham agrees. And he ends up telling, like, let's see, we go back to Western Village where it's raining, and he's telling them to, like, some of the people realize that it's raining down and wonder what this means. And that way that's flying indoors, with Killingham order them to grab those brats, as a giant water grabs the kids once again, particularly Colin and I think Giles' great granddaughter. I think Omi's grandkid, if you will. And there are some things out there, as he talks about how they were born in such a high place. It's above all the clouds. Water's coming down from the sky. It's a mysterious terror. and saying after the people of the D and Nika, it was the most common boogeyman that warned us about. As it goes on about how that in the lower world, which is called a monster called the Rain God, that dumps water on the top of your head. And we end up, cutting to we end up getting this giant double spread of this female water goddess, if you will, which is apparently the god of rain, Zaza, and this is what Killingham is afraid of, as describing its appearing to the rim of the prayers of the rain, going, "Oh, Zaza, freaky." Well, someone says, "Ooh, it's Zaza, freaky," might be Killingham still. If kids plead for help as the adults, worry that the children are in danger, as we see them getting pushed around by the water of the rain goddess, who seems to have 4 arms, one of which is grabbing the children. And then we cut to Somers and Killingham saying, "Now take them away and get ready, Somers," saying that we can still sit there at any time. And as this is going on, Zora realizes that there's something going on in the village with Goldberg saying, "Should I turn around?" And he's like, nah. As he sees Sanji, and the chapter basically ends, if you will, with Zoro and Sanji in their classic. Oops, I accidentally unshared the wrong, pressed the wrong button there. Let's see, share screen, share. Here we go. We get the sort of classic, the rivalry of Zoro and Sanji, but in this one, in a more manner of trust, telling Zoro telling Sanji to get the job done, with Sanji saying "same to you," showing that despite their rivalry, they expect each other to do just as well as the other, sort of ending the chapter on this note. So now that Zoro and Sanji have basically seemingly confirmed their matchups, Zoro's about to fight Summers, and Sanji's about to have a rematch with Killingham with this goddess Zaza on his side. We're about to see how this fight goes down. Anyway, time for my overall thoughts, if you will. I'm just going to give my overall thoughts on this chapter, and So I guess the first thing of note in this chapter is that it's not, while we get a little bit of Loki and Emu at the beginning, is not the full-on chapter. So it seems like Oda gave a full-on chapter for the first part of the fight, but for the next part of the fight, it seems like he's breaking up with stuff that's going on outside of the fight, which arguably is not the worst thing to happen. And I can see why Oda is doing this, because I'm not sure. I think Oda is at the climax of this fight. I mean, the climax of this arc, and arguably wants to move on to the next arc, but and arguably wants to remind us that there's still other bad guys to fight with. So it was even a miracle that Loki versus Emo was even won a whole chapter, because how rare that is these days in One Piece. But still, pretty good fight. But that doesn't mean that the little that we didn't get isn't interesting, as we end up learning that apparently Loki has, as expected, given the size of his dragon form, it's a bit hard for him to see Emu, so it shows you that one of the weaknesses of the Nidhogg through grits, while it might make you much more powerful, if you're fighting an opponent that's too tiny, it can be kind of hard to see at times. So that's that. But it is interesting to see that Emu is a bit nostalgic about seeing Nidhogg again, but also calling him a traitor. And this implies that the previous use of the fruit was once on Emu's side, which everyone thinks to be might be the war god of Elbaf. or named Elbaf, if you will. That originally was a rival to Joe Boy, but eventually became his friend or something. And the major issue and the major thing that seems to back us up is when Emu notices that Ragnar has apparently found a new master. And I do like also how we get a bit of an explanation, which apparently is a true one, as I think YouTuber Mr. Morge looked up, and that Oda was giving a lesson about how ice and how certain bits of lightning is caused by the impact with ice. So it's like a combination that in most fiction you don't really notice or don't even know. It's not even like know about, but it seems like Oda has given everyone a lesson on Loki's powers through scientific means. So props to that at least. So yeah. But the most interesting thing is that Emu does recognize Ragnar, which we now confirmed is a hammer that ate a mythical devil fruit. So yeah, and it, of course, these two seem to know each other, so it's like this confirms that Emu also knew like the previous Needhog user. So yeah, and it seems there is some hostility given Ragnar's reaction. Emu's just saying, "Oh, you found a new master now after all this time," but Ragnar, which arguably he looks adorable, is just shouting and complaining at Emu. So yeah, let's see. I am very curious to see if Ragnar will talk to Chopper and bring up the history with like Emu. I am very curious how Oda's going to try and let's see deal with that issue because, well, arguably Ragnar is from the Void Century, so at least lived during the Void Century, so he seems to probably at least know a certain bit. Though granted, it could be that given that he's just a companion of like the War God, he might not know the full context and just know that Emu's just basically a bad man and an enemy of his master, who apparently was on Emu's side at one point, but ended up betraying him in favor of Joy Boy. Now, I do like how they're both trying to fire a bunch of dragon breath shots or like summon a bunch of demons to counter each other. Just showing you just how awesome the scale is of this fight. So that. I also like that we got some like confirmation on like Bonnie and Lilith, though. I think those who are hoping that Bonnie would be a part of the crew, it might be a bit disappointed to learn that Lilith is now her guardian. So it's like she's not likely to join the crew, which for those who wanted Bonnie to join the crew, I can see them being somewhat disappointed by this decision, which probably doesn't help that. Those probably should be expected when Liv apparently is going to bring back Kuma, which arguably restore his memories, which arguably I'm not really in favor of, as I think Kuma's story is basically complete. But I guess Oda can't help himself with that regards, unless Kuma's going to join the Straw Hats, which would be pretty cool, but who knows, because I think everyone thinks that the Paw fruit is the next devil fruit to be a part of the crew, and some theorize that Vivi will end up eating it. So we do have that little theory there. But yeah, but one thing I like in this chapter is that Lilith is trying to deduce who Emu is, because she realizes he's definitely stronger than a God's Knight and definitely has authority over them, but it's not a Five Elders. And I wouldn't be surprised, given how smart Lilith is, since she is a Vegapunk, that given the world government's darks and secrets, that it is very likely a one of the founding 20 members. So it's like, who else? And do the same conclusion that Ivankov did, just like, who else could control the God's Knight and Five Elders? Let's see, the supposed descendants of God, one of those gods themselves, if you will. So yeah, I would be wondering if Lilith will able to even deduce that this person might actually have the mortality operation done on them. So who knows? But this is likely going to be stuff that will be addressed after this big climax fight, maybe the epilogue of Elbaf, or somewhere in the next, the beginning of the next arc, or arcs, if you will, depending on how long you think One Piece has after Elbaf. So, but yeah, I do like how Sanji is motivated to try and stop killing him, who seems to like, okay, now Emu's beating him up, I can just focus on my mission. But there's also a bit of an upscale for Sanji because, well, he got up quite quickly after being injured by Emu, though he still got his butt whooped. But heck, Sanji's showing pretty strong endurance here as is determined to prevent Killingham from completing their mission they had of kidnapping children, and saying that he can't let all this battles be for nothing, since this is Usopp and Luffy's Yurtsi. This is a country those two have wanted to go for a long time, and I'm hoping that Oda, by mentioning this, hasn't forgotten how much significant importance Elbaf is for Usopp, and hopefully that means he's going to give Usopp some defining moment in this arc, even though that is probably the one criticism I've seen people have that they have of this arc of Elbaf. If they may have enjoyed everything, but they may not be happy by the fact that Usopp hasn't yet to get a very significant role besides maybe confronting Emu, if you will. So yeah. Now, of course, Sanji is also motivated to help all the beautiful giant ladies, which argue making character, but I do like how Luffy and Bonnie just dot by his motivations, if you will. Anyway, I will admit, I'm a bit surprised that Bitsy, Robin, and Sol are able to find the books of Ohara quite quickly. I'm wondering if Oda's kind of rushing this plot line, if you will, as there's so much going on that he needs to focus on other things. But of course, it is a good thing that those books have been saved. I do like how Robin is thankful, but Sol is, who's already questioned Biblo, wondering who is Biblo actually. And the theory is, of course, like I mentioned earlier, Biblo's actually a traitor and is preparing those books for either government or maybe Blackbeard, or Biblo is actually part of the Void Century, maybe even Joy Boy's crew, if you will, but is similar to Sunisa and Emma, where they can't really talk except for a few certain individuals can hear them. So yeah, it's stuff like that, but I assume that this is a plot line that won't get too much focus on, so there's up. Anyway, I do like how Summers is now able to be strong enough to lift a ship, and giving himself the nickname Super Saint Summers, if you will, or Super Summers, but and has to try and correct himself to remind everyone to do that. I will admit, let's see, last few chapters ago was a bit surprising that Gerd got her fingers carved, because Emu never does that with a female character, but he did it this time. But lucky for Gerd, it turns out her fingers can be properly reattached because of how well Emu sliced them off. But yeah, arguably, I think it should be expected that Oda's never going to permanently damage one of his more beautiful female characters. But I do like how at least that he's willing to show them being injured and stuff, and Chopper does warn, of course, that gives Chopper a moment to do some medical stuff, but also gives Chopper does point out that you're not going to be fully recovered for a couple of months, so Gerd is arguably out of the fray for a bit, but who knows? I wouldn't be surprised if they recover quite quickly because of One Piece, and because, before we know, the final war might begin next arc. But yeah, I do like Chopper showing that he's able to treat all the giants quite easily, because it's quite well, or at least give them basic thing, and it's probably not easy because, well, they're giants and he's a small reindeer. So there is that. But yeah. Now, granted, this bit I can see controversial is Road getting all excited about Gerd and all that stuff, saying, "Oh, your fingers, I would trade them all for that." But Gerd's shut up. But I do like how Gerd at least seems to have seemingly some newfound respect for Road for risking his life to save his brother. But arguably Road probably ruined it by being the sort of over the top otaku fanboy that he is. And even his brother's yeah, Gerd's probably lost that respect now. Which is you gained it and then you lost it by your own silliness, but it is what it is. But I can definitely see people getting tired of this Road, let's see, otaku joke by now, but at the very least, I do it's a little nice character moment between Road and Gerd, with Gerd Bretzi able to give Road some praise for doing arguably the one decent thing that we've seen in this arc from him, and that is risking his life to save his brother. So props to that. Anyway, I do like how Sora and Goldberg are interacting with Goldberg confirmed to be the only giant not to be injured, new giant warrior pilots not to be injured because Hadron exploded. Gerd got a fingers cut off, some wounds from Road, and I believe Stussen got his leg cut off, so all that kind of stuff. So yeah, so it makes sense that he'd be the one. I do like how Zoro Ritzy goes like he's helping because the captain's mindset is a friend's country is our country to protect. And I do like how Goldberg's seeing why he started to follow Luffy given that sort of characterization. But yeah, but I do like that Zoro is realizing that analyzing like what Inu attacked him with and realized that they've turned into metal, and it's arguably trying to think of a way to probably slice them up or damage them like he was going to do to some of the guards knights, or if you will, but of course their regeneration makes that kind of hard to do. So but he seemed like ready to take down his enemies. But yeah, but I do like the sort of conversation we get with Killingham and Summers, with them going like, I screwed up. I summoned the thing we're scared of. And we get a bit of lore that the world nobles, besides being afraid of the D-Clan and Nika / Joy Boy, if you will, they also fear this rain god, Zuza, which arguably, we know that this is another reference to Skype here, where they were mentioned of a rain god. And turns out that there's a rain god that exists, or at least what people imagine the rain god to look like in the world of One Piece, a giant watery room that is able to easily grab the hands of those kids. And yeah, I do like how I like the design. It's got like I can't really describe the headgear, if you will, but I can see the sort of references to that, if you will. I like that she's got multiple arms and all that stuff, and arguably is able to, the power of the rain, able to flood an entire giant village, which is arguably impressive, given what we've seen these giants being fighting beforehand. So there's that. And just when they thought they got the kids safe, nope, they got taken away again, adding to more of the tension of can our hero save the day, as it's Zoro and Sanji that are going to be confronting both Summers and Killingham. Sanji likely to going to Killingham, while Sanji going to Summers, if you will. Right, and so going to Summers, if you will. I do like how when they cross past each other, they believe that the other one should be able to take care of the problem, even though Summers and Killingham have been boosted and do not want to disappoint the Great One, because it's like this is a rare opportunity of eliminating enemies as well as gaining new ground forces, if you will, as that's why they're trying to still kidnap the children. So yeah, arguably, yeah, we now got a confirmation that besides the Sun God, all the other gods that were mentioned in Skypiea are going to probably show up somewhere in the story. The theory, of course, is that Luffy, besides him being Nika, Dragon actually has this devil fruit. The other theory, of course, is Vivi has it, given the fact that her people need the rain, but it's very likely it could also be more likely to be Dragon, given how he's shown to be able to control the weather, at least the winds at the very least, which we all thought was the wind fruit. But arguably, it seems like Oda is going for more godlike fruit, if that is the case. So we'll have to see how that plays out, if you will. But yeah, but I think it's clear that Oda is deciding to show a lot more of the One Piece gods in this arc, and Zazu is, or Zuza, if you will, is the next one that they decide to do, and it's one apparently the world nobles are afraid of. So that is sort of like interesting facts to sort of like learn. Arguably, One Piece lore is getting a bit more deeper. And I think, as Mr. Morge says, these gods don't necessarily exist in the One Piece world, but enough people believe them to create devil fruits. So yeah, likely to be either Dragon, who already has it, or Vivi in the future, though some theorize that she'll get the pawpaw fruit after Kuma's bite the bucket, but we'll have to wait and see what Luffy is going to do with this clone Vegapunk, if you will. So yeah, overall, I'd probably give this chapter maybe an 8 or 7.5 out of 10. You got some nice moments between Loki and Emu, and also Ragnia. You got like the Guards Knights showing that they're on the move now, and also get Alex lore like what some world nobles feel of the Rain Guard, which might be ironic when Dragon reveals that you might have that devil fruit, but I mean that devil fruit, if you will. So yeah, so there is that, and yeah, granted there might not be some like bits that people like, such as Road going a bit over pervy, and Oda once again cutting from like the interesting fight, if you will, and what else was there? I guess a Rhodes behavior. That one the joke might be getting a bit too old for some people now. Oh, and people are intrigued about Biblo's like motives and all that stuff. So there is that. So yeah, quite's got a lot of going on, but this chapter is setting up between Zoro versus Summers and Sanji versus Killingham, which I will admit, I figured that Zoro would be fighting Dorian Broggy Dom in reverse, but that didn't happen. Sanji, I think everyone expected him to fight Summers, but that didn't happen. So, but yeah, and arguably it sometimes feels like they've swapped the opponents, if you will, because given Summers' themes of loves, who knows, but who knows, perhaps maybe Otis decided to do Summers because he seems to have like thorn plant type devil fruits, so it might be that he's preparing this will be Zoro's pre-prepared fight against a Navy Admiral, particularly one that's called Green Bull, but who knows, we'll have to wait and see in that regards. But yeah, this chapter is definitely a 7.5 out of 10. Not as great as the last few chapters, but those are hard to top, but gives us a bit of results from them, if you will, and as well as adding to the lore of One Piece. So yeah, with like Ragnia and Zazu. Anyway, that's all I have to say right now. I was going to try and make this as short as I can because I've got some stuff to catch up on. So for those who end up listening, I hope you enjoyed what I had to say, and I'll see you all next time for the next One Piece chapter. But for now, I am Blue Star Saber, signing off. Thank you, everyone, and goodbye for now.